Ever wish you could put your grow room on autopilot? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to show you the top 4 tips to make growing a breeze. Hey, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Grow Lab. If you want to connect with the best growers from all over the world, get tips and tricks on how to grow the dankest plants possible, and not have to worry about the censorship we get from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Go check out realgrowlab.com. Get all kinds of great Grow Talk Q&A. Plus, see all the stuff YouTube won't let me show you in these videos. Sign up and join our growing community over at realgrowlab.com. Or download the app at the Apple or Android App Store. Now let's get back to today's video. Come on, High C, you ready to get into this?
I am, and this is what I love the most about you is I was so intimidated to get into growing, and you made it so simple for me. That's kind of like your whole thing.
It is easy. You don't have to micromanage everything. You can get a few tools that will help you a ton and don't break the bank.
All right, so let's talk about different ways that I can set my grow on autopilot.
Okay, the first one may seem silly, but it's a timer. Get yourself a light timer. Make sure that you're not just wasting your money. If you're hitting your DLI, putting your lights on 24 hours a day, they might only need 18 hours a day. Get yourself a light timer.
Okay, so help me out here. Why is consistent light important in the first place? Like, why do I want to make sure I'm doing exactly 18 and not 19 one day?
Yeah, let's take the 12-12 flowering cycle, because that's when it really matters. These plants are photoperiod dependent. So you've got to make sure 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You can't mess it up or it'll weird your plants out. Even a day or two will weird your plants out. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer, a light timer. What I wanted to talk about was there's different ones. It has to do with the amount of power that's running through it, the amps that are running through it. You can get ones that are 3 amps meant for a little lamp, and you can get them up to 15 amps that are meant for something powerful. So make sure, a compressor or something like that, make sure you get a heavy duty one. They're not expensive. The difference between 10 and 15 bucks maybe.
So make sure you get the right type of timer for the type of light you're using.
Look and see how many amps your lights are running. It's very clearly right on the sticker, and then make sure your timer is capable of handling that.
Okay, cool. So I've got an easy way to set my lights on autopilot. What's next?
Watering.
Watering. Oh my gosh. Watering is definitely one of those things that seems like it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I think the dude has to, when he wants to go away for the weekend, have his mother-in-law show up and water his plants.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we don't want that. And it's very easy. First off, I use the sip buckets. I found this out after years and years of growing, that you can just keep a reservoir filled that will keep the bottom of your bucket filled, and it will very consistently wick up. You don't have to do anything. No timer, nothing.
Sip. I'm looking up sip buckets on the internet right now. What does that mean?
Sub-irrigated planter. So it just means you're irrigating from below the soil.
Okay, and I've seen, actually, this is becoming more and more popular. I've started seeing all kinds of plants that are having this type of watering from underneath.
It works. Yeah, it works. If you go to Home Depot or whatever, you'll see that most of the buckets now are sip buckets because they're very forgiving.
Okay, and you have specific ones. We've got the real buckets over at Real Growers, but you're just kind of an advocate of the idea as a whole.
Yes, if you want to Google a very simple sip bucket, just Google a hempy bucket. Perlite on the bottom, soil on top, and you're done.
But if you want to help support the show, go check out the real buckets over at realgrowers.com.
Definitely. Hey, another thing you can do if you're not into sip buckets are a certain style. Sometimes people like to control their dry back. They like to keep them.
Okay, wait.
Yes,
actually, dry back. What's the thing with sip buckets that doesn't allow the dry back?
Yeah, it's because they're sitting in an inch or two of water. Those sip buckets are constantly wicking. The whole benefit of them is consistently that perfect moisture level all the time. Now, some folks some growers like a dry back that stresses out the plant a bit.
Okay, and so top watering, you water and then you let it dry out, and then you water and you let it dry out. What is that benefit? Why would people want that dry
It's
back?
a stress response. When the plant gets dry, those roots get a little bit desperate, and they go out and they grow, and they search for more more moisture. So it's
Okay.
just a technique to grow the roots.
Okay, and you were talking about top watering and a way to automate top watering.
Yeah, if you need to. I mean, a drip system is so easy to make. You go and you get a Home Depot has it, 1/2-inch poly tubing, the soft poly tubing, and then you just attach it to a $30 pump. Just a pump. You put it to a timer, and then you just set it to, I mean, you kind of figure it out, but a couple minutes a day, maybe 2-3 times a day. A lot of times with cyclical irrigation, they'll water a little bit multiple times a day. So it's just really how complicated you want to make it. My point is, even if you make it complicated, you don't have to show up every 6 hours. You can go away for the weekend. Set yourself up a timer and a pump and some drippers, and it takes the pressure off you. It does.
Another way to automate your grow. All right, let's move on to the next one. And this is a really important thing, temperature and humidity.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of growers kind of stay chained to their grow because they're always monitoring and regulating temperature and humidity.
What did I do? I just turned up the air conditioning because it was freezing in here because I have a grow tent here, and the grow tent gets priority over me, man. All right, has to have, yeah. Temperature and humidity are huge. If you don't dial it in, you get bud mold. Man, bugs love that hot weather. So just, you got to make sure that you're exhausting or conditioning that air in there. You're going to have to circulate it. So fans are huge. And then, man, a game changer. I will shout out AC Infinity, friends of the show, always been good to me. They have controllers that they came out with. I think it was a 67 was their first one. The 69 controller is what they're offering now. And it's got temperature and humidity sensors that go in your tent. And all they do is trigger an exhaust fan or whatever you have on, plugged into that outlet. It's a game changer. I used to have such a hard time before that maintaining proper temperature and humidity inside a small grow, inside a tent. So very cool.
So it'll actually monitor what the temperature and humidity is, and when it gets outside of the ideal range,
Yep.
it automatically kicks on that exhaust fan.
We all know what a monitor is, right? Like, a thermometer. Yeah. What we're looking for is a monitor controller. We need something that once it hits that temperature, it controls a piece of equipment. So yes, that's huge.
Okay. And then let's talk about the last thing here.
This goes right along with it. And you mind if I just jump and I'll say CO2. CO2 is definitely a huge upgrade. Not necessary at all, but if you're looking at taking your grow to the next level, you want to add CO2.
Okay. And so CO2 is naturally in the air.
Yeah, there's about 400 parts per million of CO2 in the air. It started at 350 when I was when it was like 20 years ago when I started. But it's up to 400 ppm of CO2 in the air. So if you circulate that and constantly reintroduce fresh CO2 into the air, and by the way, you'd be surprised at how much CO2 we make when I hang out in my grow. My CO2 goes up hundreds of points, man.
But the idea here is to not have to be stuck in your grow all day.
Of course, yes. But so, yeah, by circulating that air, you're constantly getting 400 ppm CO2. Works well outside. It'll work fine in your grow tent.
All right, but you were saying that there's a way to automate.
Yeah, and this used to be really expensive. Now with the interwebs, it's not so bad. For $200, you can get yourself a CO2 monitor controller. The same way that our temperature and humidity are controlled, the CO2 is controlled. Where you just turn it on and off as it reaches a certain parts per million.
So you have a monitor and then you have a CO2 tank that the controller's hooked up to?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And it just makes it really easy. I will say CO2 is fairly expensive. Changing out the tanks is the hardest thing. That's how I put my cannabis grow on autopilot. But did I miss anything? Let me know your best automation tip in the comments. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Share this video with another grower you know. And check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommended. They're great.